Okay, now that you have found the trade article that you would like to use for your first assignment, the research summary email, we need to talk about how to summarize that article. So I am in Blackboard, Learning Plan 1-2 in the hybrid portion of the course, and I'm looking at the research summary email assignment description, and I'm just going to open up this second document here summarizing your article. So we are going to do a special type of summary called a precis summary. The word precis just means summary, but it's usually used to refer to a 4-sentence summary. So you're not writing a lot here, you're just writing 4 sentences, but we're really going to be looking critically at the article that you read and trying to get a lot of information into those 4 sentences. So this handout tells you exactly what should go in each sentence, and then at the bottom I summarized the article, the scholarly article that we read, Content Volatility of Scientific Topics in Wikipedia. So that might be a good place to start. Let me just read my summary aloud to you, and then we'll go sentence by sentence, and I'll tell you what is supposed to be in each sentence of your article summary. So my summary reads, Adam M. Wilson and Jean E. Likens' article, Content Volatility of Scientific Topics in Wikipedia, A Cautionary Tale, reports that Wikipedia pages on politically controversial science topics are edited more often than Wikipedia pages on non-controversial science topics. Wilson and Likens support this claim by comparing the number and size of 9 years' worth of daily Wikipedia page edits on acid rain, global warming, and evolution to heliocentrism, general relativity, continental drift, and the Standard Model in physics. Their purpose is to point out that despite the present popularity and increased accuracy of Wikipedia, Wikipedia has a highly changeable nature. Therefore, its articles should be carefully analyzed before use in writing for school in order to maintain scientific accuracy, especially for topics considered controversial. Wilson and Likens are writing for an audience of researchers due to the layout of the article as a standard lab report. However, educators are addressed in the final sentence, and the article could be of use to students as well. So let's take that sentence by sentence. In the first sentence of your article, you need to give the name of the author, the title of the article, and the date it was published in parentheses, and really we just need the year. You need to choose a verb that accurately tells what the article does. Does this article explain something? Is it informing you of something? Is it comparing or contrasting something? Did you choose an argumentative piece? Is it asserting or arguing something, or denying or refuting something? And then you also need to give the major claim of the article, the main idea of the article. Main ideas are sometimes tricky to come up with. Our brains really are geared to remember interesting things. So we tend to read an article and then we'll remember the one really intriguing supporting point that stood out to us. So we're not looking for that. We're looking for the main idea. And the places where you can find the main idea are the title. Sometimes there's a subtitle beneath the title with the main idea. The very first sentence of the article will sometimes contain the main idea. Sometimes they'll engage you in the first couple of sentences and save the thesis statement for the end of the first paragraph or first section. Or the concluding paragraph might contain the main idea. So if you're having trouble coming up with the gist of your article, the overall claim or thesis, look in those places: title, subtitle, first sentence, end of first paragraph, concluding paragraph. All those things need to go in the first sentence. And you can formulate your first sentence just like this one. Adam M. Wilson and Jean E. Likens' article, and then in quotation marks the name of the article, and then your verb, I chose reports, and then from this part on is what I consider to be the major claim of my article. So we're doing this very concisely by putting that all in one sentence. The second sentence of your article should include the main idea of each of the article's sections. If your article is divided into sections, it might have subtitles, so you can use those to come up with the main idea of the subsections, although you shouldn't plagiarize. You should look for new ways to say what the article is saying. If your article doesn't have sections, you'll have to divide it into sections. The easiest way to do that is just beginning, middle, and end. But read through it a couple times and chunk the article into 3 or 4 sections with main points. The second thing you'll need to do is this: describe how the author develops the subtopic. So I'm not really asking for extra detail. You remember, this is a summary. You're going to give this summary to someone and then they'll decide if they want to read the article or not. That's the idea of a summary. But you want to give that person a flavor for the article. What kind of article is this? Is it a narrative? Is it a story? Is the article a compare-contrast where they're looking at 2 or 3 different things and comparing and contrasting them? Is it an article just full of examples from the real world? Is it a problem-solution article where the first part describes the problem and the second part describes the solution? Is it a report on a scientific study? Is it a series of interviews? So, I'm looking at not what's in the article, not the details, but how those details are given, how they're portrayed. So, you can choose from any of these types of writing or come up with your own. Maybe it's a combination of compare, contrast, and interviews. Maybe it uses quotations. Maybe it's giving definitions. Maybe it's giving tips and tricks. But don't forget that part of sentence 2. So what are the subtopics, but also how are they developed? Like, what type of article is this? My second sentence started here. Mine really was a comparison-contrast article. It was a study, but it was a comparison-contrast of Wikipedia pages on controversial topics versus non-controversial topics. Sentence 3 says, in a single coherent sentence, state the author's purpose, followed by an in-order phrase. Now, the mistake people make here is just to do what they did in sentence 1, which is to state the major claim, which is the author's purpose. So you may restate that purpose, maybe in a more concise way or with slightly different words, but you have to take it one step farther and ask yourself why the author is doing this. Why are they trying to achieve this purpose? So step outside of the article. Why are they writing this? What does he or she hope to achieve? What ideas or behaviors in the workplace or in the world would he or she like to change? And you might have to infer this. Sometimes they will tell you this in the introduction or the conclusion or somewhere else in the article, but sometimes you have to infer it. So you really have to ask yourself, what's the point of this article? And what did I say was the point? I said their purpose is to point out that despite how popular Wikipedia is, it really shouldn't be used. It really needs to be analyzed for school research, but before being used, because it's not always scientifically accurate. And then sentence 4, in a single coherent sentence, describe the intended audience. Sometimes the audience is named. In the article I summarized in the last sentence, they did use the word educators. Sometimes you have to infer the audience, though, based on the word choice and tone. And in the last video, we talked about how scholarly articles, and that's what I was summarizing, are really geared toward a scholarly audience, so other researchers. The author's biography might help you to determine the audience. So whoever that author is, they may be writing to other people in that field. The type of magazine as well indicates the intended audience. So, even though you may find the article useful as a student, it may not have been written for students. If it's in a trade magazine in your program area, then it likely was written for people who are working in that field. So pay attention to the magazine that the article came from. And there may be more than one audience. So you could list a few audiences that the article would be useful for. And in my final sentence, I listed researchers and educators and even students. Now, does your summary have to be 4 sentences? I've had a few students do it in 3 sentences. So they fit all this information in 3 sentences. And sometimes that was by taking sentence 4, the audience, and putting it into sentence 1. Or you could probably slip it into sentence 2. But, maybe you're reading a complex article that has multiple sections, and maybe your sentence 2 is going to need more than 1 sentence. If you feel like it's getting clunky or confusing, describing the main idea of each of those subsections, then maybe you need 2 sentences there. So, 3 sentences, 4 sentences, 5 or 6 sentences, that's fine. But the point is we want it to be very concise, and you want to pack a lot into each sentence. This summary that you write, you will put right into the body of your research summary email. So you'll have a little introduction, dear colleague, I found this article in such and such. It's related to a topic we were talking about at our staff meeting. I think people could benefit from it. Here's a summary. Then put your precis summary there, and then a little closing, maybe what actions you want the person to take. Read it and get back to me. Tell me what you think. And then, of course, your email will be needed to be formatted according to the structure in the textbook and that we go over in class. So again, do the summary and then plop that right into the body of the email, in which you imagine a scenario in which a colleague in your workplace might want to read the article that you have just read.